Hey everyone, it's Kristen. So I just did a review on the Mojo 4-pack set. And so I kind of, like I said, I usually do the origins while I'm talking about the figures, but since that was so involved and went like so long already that I decided I'd do it differently. The first one, of course, is I'm going to talk about is Dazzler because she actually appeared in comic books first. And this was this was her appearance in comic books. You know, the whole disco, yeah, rollerblades or roller skates and everything. Which I liked her look. I mean, maybe not the roller skates because that seemed kind of definitely period driven and now kind of goofy. Same with the disco ball necklace, but like, the blue eye makeup to conceal her identity and the silvery jumpsuit. I mean, I liked that look, but of course, she's evolved since then. Um, and her first appearance was like 1980 in during the Phoenix saga, or the soon to be Dark Phoenix saga, and X-Men Uncanny X-Men 130, which I don't have because that's like a couple $100. And I just never, I don't know. I mean, I have a lot of comic books, but I don't have that one because pretty much most of the comic books before 142, which is 141, 142 is Days of the Future Past. Most of the comic books before that period, I don't have. But I'm one of these days I would like to get them, but of course, that requires money. So we'll see. One of these days, maybe. I do have Dazzler 1. I think there was like 42 issues in her series run. It ran for like 5 years from 81 to 86. Yeah. And it was an attempt for Marvel to gain more of a female readership. Well, if you look back at the comic books, especially in the 90s, it's mostly like well, and I talk about this when I review Wizard magazines. It's definitely male dominated, as in they're writing for a male audience for the most part. In terms of how they draw female figures and stuff and the stories, which not to say that, of course, females, I mean, look at me, don't enjoy those kind of stories. It's just, it would definitely during the 90s, it was mostly, driven towards a male audience. So in the 80s with Dazzler, they tried to gain a female audience. And it ended up more being, well, and I've said this before, comic books are really like soap operas. There's all kinds of crazy stories, and they keep revisiting the same plot point like over and over and over again because that's what soap operas do. But yeah, but this definitely was way more of a soap opera, and you can see the first issue. Well, like I love this cover. It's a very iconic cover, and you can see Enchantress, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Nightcrawler. They aren't all in this issue, but it's a cool cover. So here she is. And I'm just going to briefly go through it because, it's not a, there's a couple of points that I just want to point out. So basically, she's, still trying to become a famous singer, doing gigs and stuff. That's how the X-Men met her in Uncanny X-Men 130. And so she's having these goons are following her and they're trying to renegotiate her contract and stuff. And she's using her powers to ward them off. And Spider-Man just happens to, be there. He's like, quiet night, no crime for no action, no pictures for the Daily Bugle. And he sees her light show and he goes to investigate. So, he helps her out. And like I said, Spider-Man was and still is one of Marvel's most popular characters. So they thought by you know, throwing him in there will maybe it generate more interest in the book. I think this issue is like worth maybe $5 or something, if that. It's pretty common. I mean, it's not like it's not valuable or anything, But anyway, so Spider-Man, saves her, webs up the bad guys in his, usual fashion. And Dazzler explains what it's all about. The goons were trying to renegotiate her contract. And Dazzler's like, my singing career is in the pits. And he's like, well, hang in there, sweetheart. You have talent. All you need is time. I don't know why I don't know how he knows that unless he's heard her sing before. But I guess just based off the light show, maybe I don't anyway, I thought that was interesting. So Dazzler's in her dumpy apartment and she's kind of feeling sorry for herself. So she calls, the X-Men mansion to talk to people. Storm answers and she's like, Allison, how nice to hear from you. We haven't spoken since the Hellfire Club incident, her first appearance. Have you decided to reconsider and our offer to join the X-Men and give up singing? And of course, Dazzler's like, give up singing? No, I would never give up on my dream. I just called to see what's happening. So she's just kind of lonely. And then it goes into her origin story. Here's her dad. She wants to go to this school dance because they're doing a talent show in the, during the halftime of it. Oh, yeah, during the band's break. I'm sorry. And she wants to go, and he's like, no, you are gonna, your studies come first. You're gonna, go to law school and become a lawyer. And she talks to her grandmother, and she's like, I don't know what to do. And her grandmother's like, I'll talk to your father about it. So she goes to the dance, and she does her act. And during her act, her her powers manifest. But of course, nobody knows it's her that's doing this. They just thought the gym was equipped with this cool light show. Um, and during all this commotion, these thugs break in and, because they're mad that they weren't invited to this dance. So Dazzler basically blinds them all. Um, she's like, these monsters inflict pain and humiliation for the sheer savage joy of it all. I won't let them hurt me. I won't. Because the leader of the guy of the gang was like, you guys do whatever. I'm taking this girl on the stage. She's mine. So the dialogue back then is pretty funny. He calls her a broad. So anyway, so she works hard at her studies, she hones her powers. Um, she graduates high school and her dad's like, we're so proud of you and you'll be attending the law school I've chosen for you. And she's like, no, I won't, Dad. I want to be a singer. This is what I'm going to do. And he's like, well, fine, don't expect my blessing or forgiveness. Like, you're on your own. And then we come to Asgard and we see the Enchantress, lounging in her her chair. And so there's this warrior that he's, fawning over her, and he's like, all I want to do is be in your presence forever. And so she turns him into a tree. And she's like, fine, you can be in my presence forever. There you go. And she apparently feels like that there's going to be a shift in realities or the cosmic, I think it says axis, so that she can go to Midgard, which is what they call Earth. Which this is a little bit like, I don't understand, because she's like, she sees this disco and she's like, wow, it's a disco. And she says, I'm not alone in my ravenous hunger for sorceress supreme. Thus, no attention must be called to yon sight. I must arrive quietly and in disguise. The fate of the universe rests upon my deadly cunning. So there's apparently supposed to be some huge cosmic event. So she's going to Midgard and she's going to be in disguise and she's going to this disco. Like I said, I feel like the writers, yeah, were stretching this to make Dazzler, more. interesting, more relevant at the time because, of course, she was a brand new character, and they were just trying to draw in different readership. So they included, like I said, Spider-Man and now Enchantress, and then here you have the Avengers. Beast, being a mutant and being a member of the X-Men. He's bouncing through the hallways of the Avengers mansion, and he sees the paper and he gets all excited. So he, bounces through, runs around, and he's like, I'm sorry, it's just there's this opportunity I see in the paper for this mutant my fellow mutant that I've been dying to meet. So he goes to Dazzler's place, which, apparently he knows where she lives and she knows who he is because, he's with the Avengers, so he's a public figure. And he shows her that this singer is ill, so that this disco boss needs a replacement. So she's like, oh my gosh, that's perfect for me. So she goes down there, but she wasn't the first one there. So Enchantress shows up there and she's like, I want an audition. And I'm honestly surprised she's like, I'm here for an audition because I would have thought that she would have been like, you need to hire me because, she's very full of herself. She's very super confident. Like, like she's the most beautiful, interesting, talented, whatever woman in the whole world. And I mean, basically that's who she is really. Like that's how highly she thinks of herself. Anyway, so she's there, she auditions, Dazzler's waiting for her turn, and the guy, of course, is so mesmerized because, I mean, that's part of her power, part of her charm is she just like can hypnotize any man, like get them under her spell, so to speak. And she just, roots or just radiates this beauty and this just charm that men are just like, oh my gosh. Like that guy who's like, I want to be by your side forever. And so she turned him into a tree. Anyway, so the manager's like, oh wow, wow, and Dazzler's like, can I go next? Can I audition next? And he's like, no, you know, the Enchantress, this beautiful, woman is my new singer. And she's like, well, you know, Dazzler's like, but you haven't heard me yet. I'm the Dazzler, which I forgot that she used to be called the Dazzler. Um, yeah, obviously she dropped that because that just sounds goofy, kind of. Um, just kind of like calling, I guess, the thing instead of just thing. Kind of just loses something in the translation to call them the thing or the Hulk, the Dazzler. Now it's just thing, Hulk, Dazzler. I mean, it just gets dropped after a while. Anyway, so Dazzler sings, does her act, her light show and everything. And Dazzler's like, well, what do you think? And he's like, oh, let me think. So he decides, and, Enchantress is very impatient. She's like, speak, mortal. Speak thy choice, mortal. And he's like, well, he's like, Enchantress, you are the finest specimen of womanhood I've ever laid my eyes on. You can have my car, my house, me even. And then he goes, but Dazzler, your voice makes it all happen. You get the gig. And she says, far out. Because, And um, yeah, Enchantress, of course, is like, never have I been so humiliated. Like, thinking unspeakable swine, choose another over me. And she, puts a hole in the wall to make her dramatic exit. Um, she's like, tremble, humans, let your hearts chill with the knowledge that return I shall. And then on that day you shall pay for this unseemly affront. Dearly, you shall pay. Anyway, so it just like, it I don't understand the whole cosmic thing that she saw in her pool that was supposed to happen. I don't know. I mean, it kind of like lost a little bit in translations. But basically, like I said, they were trying to make Dazzler popular. So they included Spider-Man and the Avengers and Enchantress. But that was just kind of a fun little thing that in a singing contest between Enchantress and Dazzler. The Enchantress lost, who's supposed to be good at like everything. So since um, so the next one is going to be pretty like the next one we're going to talk about. It's going to be pretty quick. So it's Uncanny X-Men 214, and so basically when Dazzler had her series, like I said, it was 1981, and then in I think basically Dazzler the movie was 1984, and so was the Beauty and the Beast series. I've done videos on both of those if you want to check those out. Just because they're fun stories, and they're both 84. Um, Beauty and the Beast, Dazzler and Beast. So that was during her, of course, during her series run because it ran up until 1986. So anyway, so this is February 1987, and Dazzler is hiding out, playing backup for Lila, who's this huge rock star, Lila Cheney. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. She's this huge rock star. She can create interdimensional portals, but she's playing backup, singing backup, and playing keyboard for her. And Dazzler's having this inner dialogue with herself, like, why are you being backup? You should be the star. Like, just go ahead, steal the spotlight. And so she's like, no, I can't do that. I'm hiding out after, the whole Dazzler, the movie revealed to everyone that she's a mutant. She, kind of went into hiding after that because, well, you know, no one likes mutants, especially back then. They were, afraid of them. So anyway, she decides to go ahead and just listen to the voice and take over the performance as Dazzler. And Lila's like, what are you doing? And she's like, you're just jealous. You're just afraid that I'm going to upstage you. And, she's like, enjoy the top spot, Lila, because you won't have it for long. And so we see, the X-Men that at their, the Xavier school. We see, Wolverine fighting Callisto. And Betsy's afraid that they're going to hurt each other. And Storm's like, oh, they're fine. I fought both. I know how they think. I know how they work. So they're going to be fine. And it's interesting because at one point, Wolverine comes after Betsy, and this is, before her Jim Lee Asian appearance. He comes after her, and she's like, Wolverine, what are you doing? I could have killed you. And he's like, well, Sabretooth snuck up on you. I just wanted to make sure you were, had all your faculties. Like, you wouldn't, that wouldn't happen again. And she's like, well, he was lucky. I don't like playing games with my powers. Yeah, he survived, but you might not have. So anyway, basically, you know, Dazzler has taken over Lila's show again. It's kind of, out of control. Um, oh, it's funny. It says, I never noticed this. It says Dallas. Not many comic book things happen in Texas except for, the huge Follow the Mutant story that took place in Dallas, Texas. So, but yeah, that's cool that this also takes place in there. So anyway, she's at a private club, and she just, kind of unleashes, puts on this huge performance. Um, but it's just, it's not her normal performance. It's just like everyone's on edge, and there's like this tension in the air because, she usually is just, wanting to bring everyone up and happiness, but there's something different about her performance. It's just like raw and edgy and just like almost mad. So, the X-Men, come to confront her like, what are you doing? What's going on? And she attacks them. And so what we come to find out, well, which we already knew, honestly, because she's wearing the choker, that it's Malice from the Marauders. Sinister's Marauders, the ones that slaughtered all the Morlocks in the sewers. Basically, Malice is like a psychic entity. She doesn't have a body of her own, so she possesses people. And so she has possessed Dazzler, and you can tell because, yeah, she's wearing the choker. And that's who was encouraging her to, steal the spotlight and just, go all out and everything. So, and then, the choker, Malice, gets transferred to Wolverine because it just moves from body to body. It doesn't have its own body. She doesn't have her own body. And basically, she feeds on the darker energy of you. And they're like, well, Betsy, you're a telepath. Can't you, get rid of her? Um, well, and then she takes over Rogue, in which Rogue, her mind's so jumbled with all of the people that she's absorbed that she really can't. You can't read her mind or reach her. So Betsy's like, I need to, I need a different host. I need Malice to possess someone else that I can actually reach. So, you have Rogue fighting the X-Men now, because it was Wolverine, and then she possessed Rogue, and now Rogue's fighting the X-Men. And Dazzler, she doesn't even know what's going on. She's like, I can't believe, this happened, and I can't believe that, she made me do those things. Like I was possessed and I didn't even really, know what was going on. And it's funny because they mention at the time that Rogue, before she joined the X-Men, tried to kill Dazzler. um, and I'd kind of honestly forgotten about that. It was in Dazzler 22, 24. So I'll have to reread that arc. I don't really remember that very well, but involves two of my favorite people, Dazzler and Rogue. So yeah, I should reread that little arc for sure. Well, I mean, I might just reread the whole Dazzler series. I mean, I already started with this video with one. Anyway, so Malice goes and gets on Storm, and Betsy's like, no one touch her, leave her alone. Storm's got this. So basically, Storm, through her sheer will, overcomes Malice, takes the choker off, the cameo choker, and destroys it, which disrupts her energy for a while. Like, essentially like kills her, disperses her. So basically Storm's like, Malice, you feed on the darkness in others, but I've embraced my darkness a long time ago, so you can't, make me do anything because yeah, I've embraced my darkness and I know what's going on. Or I know that part of me. So now there's this huge mess and the X-Men are blamed for it. And Dazzler feels really bad and she's like, I'm going to turn myself in because I don't want you guys to be blamed for, something I did, something that I'm basically responsible for. And Storm said, it's not really your fault. You were possessed. And, besides, what good would that do? Um, and, and Storm says, even if you were innocent, like, how are you supposed to prove it? And Storm was saying, you were Malice's chance to get to us. So basically, they invite Dazzler to join the X-Men again. And this time she actually accepts. So took her what, like 6 years from, or 7 years from her first appearance to actually accept an invitation to the X-Men. So that was just a quick video to, do the origin story of Dazzler. And it also is worth noting that this costume, the one that she's like, most famous for, well, besides this one, of course, her origin costume, was in first appeared in Dazzler 38. So next I'll probably do Long Shot, which of course includes like a whole bunch of stuff like Mojo, X Babies, Spiral, like all wrapped up into him. That's why I did Dazzler separate because she does have a separate origin story, and everyone else is wrapped up with Long Shot. So I hope you will join me for that one if you're interested in learning more about those characters. So, and I hope you have subscribed, and that way you don't miss any future videos that I do. Until next time, bye.